Good morning, everyone. Today I will start with the last topic of the first chapter, systems. Okay. So, what is a system? If you look into the definition, a system is a mathematical model of a physical process that relates the input signal to the output signal. So, input signal means excitation also, with what properties you excite the model or the physical process, and what is the response you get. Okay, so what does this mean? If we say that y it is the output of a system, then it is related to t of x, where x is the input. Okay, so I said y is the output and x is the input. Okay, so y is given by tx. So what is t now? Now this t is nothing but the mathematical model what we are talking over here. So it is a mathematical model. It is also sometimes regarded as the transfer function. Okay. So that means if we give some input to a system, then this input is being moderated by this transfer function so that we get the output. So see, output is always related to the input which we are giving to a system. Okay. Now the system can be of various type. One of the ways to represent the system is that depending upon its capability to take input and how many outputs it generate. Okay, one of the first or the simplest system is single input and single output system. They are also regarded as SISO system, SISO, single input single output systems. Okay, now what is this system T? As I said, this is a mathematical model of any given physical process. Okay, so in terms of electronics, what we can say is that if I give an input X, then suppose there is a circuit over here. Now what is this circuit? Suppose we are having an inverting amplifier. Then what is that? Inverting amplifier, it is having a mathematical model of V0 equals to 1 plus R2 by R1 into V in. So what is this? This is a mathematical model, right? And the physical process, it is being determined by this T component. 1 plus R2 by R1, it is nothing but your T component which we have seen over here. Okay. So by the way, this is the equation for an op-amp based non-inverting amplifier. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what might be the example? One of the classical example we have already talked previously. Suppose we are having LM35 sensor and it is connected its output is connected as the input of this system, and in the output we get some analog continuous time signal again. So LM35, it gives an output in the continuous time domain signal, which we have already discussed. So that continuous time domain signal, it is fed into the as the input in this system, and in the output Y we get another continuous time signal. Okay. Now coming to the next type of signals, what we have over here, if you see, we are given a system and then we are having number of inputs and number of outputs. So these kind of systems, they are regarded as multiple input, multiple output systems. Okay, so you are giving multiple inputs and you are getting multiple outputs. Okay, what is the example? Say for example, you go now to an ICU and a patient is lying over there in the ICU bed. So you can have a variety of sensors which are being attached onto the body of the patient. Say for example, the first one would be the ECG sensor. The second one, it may be the temperature sensor, so which will measure the body temperature. The third one may be the SpO2 sensor. Okay. The fourth one may be the blood pressure sensor. Okay. Now what is the output, or where the output of these sensors going? The output of these sensors they are going to a system which is regarded as the bedside monitoring system, okay, or bedside monitors. Okay, so you have multiple inputs over here, and what are the outputs? For the ECG, you may have the output as the heart rate or the ECG signal itself. It is being displayed. The temperature will give you an output. The temperature sensor will give you an output of the body temperature. SpO2 will give you the output of the oxygen saturation in the blood of the patient. Then BP will give you the blood pressure of the patient. Okay, so these kind of systems, they are regarded as multiple input and multiple output systems. Okay. Now coming to the classification of the systems, there are several classifications. The first one is the continuous time and discrete time systems. Second is systems with memory and without memory. The systems without memory, they are also regarded as memory-less systems. Okay, so systems with memory or memory-less systems. Okay, then we have causal and non-causal systems. Then we have linear systems and non-linear systems. Then we have time invariant systems and time varying systems. Next is linear time invariant systems. Next is stable or unstable systems. And last we have feedback systems. Okay. For the sake of understanding, you should keep some points in mind. The first one is that all the systems which deals with biomedical signals, they are causal systems. All the biomedical signals all the biomedical systems which are used for the processing of the biomedical signals, they are causal systems. We will be going into the details what are causal and what are non-causal systems. Then all the biomedical signals are being processed using the linear systems. They are being processed with the linear systems, and that is one of the primary requirement of the biomedical signal processing systems. Okay, then all the biomedical signal processing systems, they should be time invariant systems. Okay, so if you look into the first one, this continuous and the discrete time signals, the signals, the systems may be continuous time signal system or the discrete time systems, doesn't matter. Second one, systems with memory and memoryless systems. Again, the system may have memory, they may not have memory. Okay, it will not affect the processing. Okay, but these 3 points, point number 1, causal and non-causal systems, the system should be causal, then the system should be linear, and third, the system should be time invariant in nature. Okay, now combining these 2 systems, we get the linear time invariant systems, LTI systems. So if you see over here, we have discussed a system should be a linear system, a system should be a time invariant system if we have to use those systems for biomedical signal processing. That means all biomedical signal processing systems are LTI systems. All biomedical signal processing systems, they are LTI systems. Okay, now the systems should be stable systems, so we cannot use any unstable system, whether it is biomedical or non-biomedical system. So this is this stable system, it comes from the what do you call, from the basic characteristics of the systems. It is not only true for the biomedical signals but any other systems also. If a system is unstable, we cannot use that system for the processing of the signals. Then a system may have or may not have feedback. Okay, that means it may take information from the past values or past output values, or it may not take. So if it takes, then those systems are regarded as feedback systems. That means feedback systems are the systems which takes the past outputs as the input to give a current time or the future time output. Okay, now coming to the first type of systems, continuous time and discrete time system. Okay, in the continuous time system, again I will give you the example of LM35, which I have already told. This is a temperature sensor. I have previously also told that this is a 3-pin package IC. Okay, so LM35 is a 3-pin IC. So you give VCC plus VCC and ground, and in one of the legs you give VCC, in this another leg you give the ground, and from the third leg you get the V out. Okay, so that V out is fed into a system and you get an output. Say for example, you take this output and you put it say you may put it into inverting amplifier. It may be fed into non-inverting amplifier. Okay. Third, it may be put it into any RLC systems like low pass filter, high pass filter, and all these things, right? So what are these? These are nothing but these are some systems. So what happens if you give input to these systems, you get a continuous time output, right? On the other hand, for the discrete time systems, I would like to mention a very simple yet effective sensor. What is that? Yet effective sensor which is used in many applications, and that sensor is known as DTH11 or 22 sensors. So DTH11 or DTH22 sensor. Now what are these sensors? These sensors are digital sensors. Okay. So what does these two measure? These two measures relative humidity in an environment and temperature. Okay. Now the temperature is measured using a thermistor, and relative humidity is measured using capacitive sensor. Now you would say, sir, both the capacitive sensors and the thermistors both are continuous time sensors, or both generate outputs in the continuous time domain. Then how it becomes digital sensors? What happens is that within the package itself, the manufacturer provides the analog to digital converters. Okay, so there is a circuit which converts this continuous time signal to discrete time signals, and then they are being digitized. That's why, since they are having this arrangement to convert the continuous time signal which are being generated from the thermistors and the capacitive sensors into the digital signals, they are regarded as digital sensors. So this IC packages, DTH11 and DTH22 IC packages, they are compatible with digital systems like any microcontroller or microprocessor boards. Okay, and these two sensors are one of the very common sensors which are being used with Arduino microcontrollers. If you go into the YouTube and search, you will find a lot of video tutorials on DTH11 and DTH22 sensors. Okay. Now over here, what you are getting? You are getting the digital signals. What are digital signals? They are a type of discrete time signals. Now, this discrete time signals can only be processed using microprocessors or microcontrollers. Okay, microprocessors or microcontrollers, which are also digital systems. Okay, so digital systems, they are also discrete time systems because they take input discrete time signals as the input, and they generate output as the discrete time signals. Okay, so we have seen that what is the difference between continuous time and discrete time systems. Am I clear to all of you? Hello?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Now the next classification is with memory, systems with memory and without memory. A system is said to be memoryless if the output at any time depends on only the input at that same time. A system is said to be memoryless if the output at any time depends on only the input at the same time. Okay. So the classical example of a memoryless system is, suppose you are having a resistance. Say this is ground. You give V0, you give V in, and you get V0, right? So you give V in as the input, you will immediately get V0 as the output. Okay, so these systems, they will give you instantaneous output. Okay, the output will not be dependent on the previous inputs. Okay, so if you look over here, if you are having Yt as the output of the memoryless system, it is given by R multiplied by x of t, where x of t is the input, y of t is the output, and R is a constant. Okay, so when R is a constant, uh, you are just scaling the input signal by some amount. Okay, so these type of systems, they are regarded as memoryless systems, and the memoryless systems are usually um, what you call are usually developed using only resistors. In other words, memoryless systems are resistor only system where there is no other electrical components, say for example capacitance and other things. Okay, on the contrary, if you talk about the memory systems, in the memory system, if you see, your Yt is given by, this is an example, one type of example. Okay, Yt is given by 1 by C, where C is the capacitive value of the circuit multiplied by integral of minus infinity to t x tau d tau. Okay, so if you see, in memory systems, we are taking the past inputs. We are taking the past inputs into consideration to calculate the Yt. That means this system has to remember the previous instances of the x tau values. Okay, which is tau is modified time scale instance. So the memory systems have to remember the previous input instances or input values to calculate the present value. Okay, That means it is having the memory. So if you remember something from your past, that is your memory. Now if any circuit, they can remember what was the past inputs, and based on those inputs it is changing the current output, then it is regarded as memory system. Okay, so you must have understood. I have put one capacitance C value over here. That means any system which is having capacitance, they are memory systems. The same goes with the inductors. So if any circuit, if it is having inductors, then they are also memory systems. Okay. Now causal and non-causal systems. Now what does this say? This says a system is called causal if its output y at an arbitrary time t equals to t0 depends on only the input for t less than equal to t0. That means if you have a system which takes input only from its past and the present values, they are called causal systems. Okay, so if you see, that is the output of a causal system at present time depends on only the present or the past values on the input and not on its future values. This is an important stuff. Okay, not on its future values. Thus, in a causal system, it is not possible to obtain an output before an input is applied to the system. A system is called non-causal if it is not causal. Okay. Now another important thing is all memoryless systems are causal systems, but not vice versa. That means all causal systems, they may not be memoryless systems. Now let us see how we can find out whether a system is causal or non-causal. Okay. Suppose you are given with yt okay, say our t equals to 0. Okay, then what will happen? This will give y0 equals to x of 1. That means if you look into the time scale, which we have discussed, say this is the time scale t or n. Okay, so any values on the right hand side of the origin, they are futuristic values, that is future, right? At 0 it is present, so I will represent 0 as the PR, present value, and all the values on the negative sides are past values. Okay, so if you see, in this case for y0, what we are getting? We are getting x of 1. For y0 we are getting x of 1. That means for the present output we are taking input from the future. We are taking input from the future. So this is a what? Causal system or non-causal system?
Non-causal, sir.
So exactly, it is a non-causal system.
Yes.
Okay. Now, say you say anything, say yt equals to say x of t. So in this case, what will happen? If I put t equals to 0, I will get y equals to 0 equals to x of 0. So this is a memoryless system and it is a
Causal system.
causal system.
System.
Okay, because it is getting the present time instance value. Now suppose we have yt equals to x of minus n, minus t, sorry. So what will happen? T equals to 0. If I put y0 equals to x of minus 0 or 0, you'd say that this is a memoryless system and it is a causal system. But stop over here. Before concluding anything. Because when we are talking about the causal or the non-causal systems, we are not talking about only at the present instance of time. We have to take into consideration what would be the past values and what would be the future values. So we have to check over there in that region also. Okay. Say for example, if t is equal to minus 1, what will happen? Y equals to y of minus 1 equals to x of minus 1. So this will be plus 1. So if you see, we are at this output over here, y of minus 1, and for getting the value over here, we are taking a future value for calculation. Okay, so this says that the system is
Non-causal.
non-causal. Now what about t equals to 1? In t equals to 1, you would get y of 1 is equal to x of minus 1, right? Now our output is at this position now and our input is at this position. Now this says this is a causal system. So which one you should take? So any system which is non-causal at any instance of time, that system is regarded as non-causal system. So the system which is given by this equation is a non-causal system. Okay. Similarly, if you want, you may check the other values over here, say t equals to minus 1 and t equals to 1 also you can check, and after confirming at each and every values, you have to then give a decision. Okay. So if you see over here, I said at any given instance of time, if a system is a non-causal, then the system will be non-causal in nature, right? Now in the second one, if you see y equals to t equals to -1, we will be getting y of -1 equals to x of -1, right? Similarly, when it will be t equals to 1, we will be having y of 1 equals to x of 1. Again, in all the this past values, present value and the future values, this system is a causal system. This system is a causal system. Hence, this system is regarded as causal system. Now you may get any equation which may become non-causal at t equals to -3. Then you have to check it. So all of this, it comes by practice. So you have to practice more and more. Okay. And I cannot go into details of this one because I will be just teaching the basics of these systems. Okay. And because this is an MTech level class and we have other filter designing and other things which have to be covered later on. So I will not devote much time over here. Okay. But however, you are free to ask me any other questions if you want. If you have any problem with any of this in understanding any of the things or the numericals, you can come at a later stage and we can discuss. Okay. You can call the TA also, Vikas Pradhan. You must be having his number, so you can have his number and you can do the thing. Right? So now we have seen what is the difference between causal and non-causal systems. Now coming to the linear systems and non-linear systems. So what happens over here? The linear systems, they have to follow the additivity rule and homogeneity rule. Additivity rule means if you are giving an input x1 and correspondingly you are getting y1 as t of x1, right? And at a second instance you give x2 and you get an output of y2 equals to t of x2, then your t of x1 plus x2 should be your y1 plus y2. That means whatever the individual inputs you are giving and whatever the corresponding outputs you are getting, that should be truly summable. Okay, that means if you add up the inputs x1 plus x2, then your output should also be y1 plus y2. Okay. What the homogeneity or scaling rule says? It says t of ax, so where x is your input, so if it is being multiplied with some constant alpha, then you should get alpha y as the output. Okay, then you should get alpha y as the output. So this means suppose you are giving x of t and you are getting yt. Suppose in the next instance you multiply this with 2 of xt, then you should get 2 of yt. Okay. So any system that does not satisfy equation 1.66 and or equation 1.67 is classified as a non-linear system. Okay. if any system, if it does not meet additivity and the homogeneity criteria, then they are non-linear systems. Okay. Now these two equations can be combined and we can write down as alpha 1 x1. That means if we give alpha 1 x1 as the input, then we should get alpha 1 y1. Okay. Similarly, if we give another input alpha 2 x2, then we should get alpha 2 y2. Now if we give a combined input alpha 1 x1 plus alpha 2 x2, then the output we should get as alpha 1 y1 plus alpha 2 y2. Okay. So this equation, it is regarded as superposition property. This is regarded as superposition properties, and the alpha 1 and alpha 2, they are arbitrary scalar values. They are arbitrary scalar values. Okay. Now let us take some examples. Suppose I have a system which is given by yt equals to t into x of t, and we are asked to find out whether this system is a linear system or a non-linear system. Then we have to find out, if we give a signal x1, so instead of writing x1t, I am just writing it as x1. Okay. So if we give an signal x1, then we will get y1t equals to t multiplied by x1. Oh, sorry. I'm just not writing the thing. Oh, sorry. So if we have the signal x1, then we get y1 as the input output, which is equal to t into x1. Similarly, for x2, we will be getting y2 equals to t multiplied by x2. So say this is the first step, this is the second step. Then in the third step, we have to calculate y dash t, which is basically the addition of these two input sides. Okay. That means we have t multiplied by x1 plus x2. Okay. Then in the fourth step, we have to calculate y double dash t. Now here what we have to do, we have to see, or we have to change the value of xt. Again, you can just remove this. Okay. T multiplied by x1 plus x2. Okay. x1 plus x2. Now you have to compare, in the fifth step you have to compare 3 and 4. If 3 and 4 they are equal, then it is a linear system. If 3 and 4 are equal, then it is a linear system. Okay. Similarly, let us take another example. let me change the color. Yeah. Y of t equals to x squared t. Okay. Now in step 1, say when we give x1, then we get y1 equals to x1 square. In B, if you give x2, we get y2 equals to x2 square. In C, it would be y dash t, sorry, y dash t equals to x1 square plus x2 square. Okay. In D, we will be having y double dash t, it is equals to, now if you break this down, it is basically x of whole square. So we have to change the x with x1 plus x2. So it becomes x1 plus x2 whole square. So in the E, you see C and D, they are not equal. So this is a non-linear system. Over here I have just written AB, then 3, 4, 5. So it should be A, B, C, D, E. So we have to compare C and D. Okay. Right. So this is a non-linear system. Similarly, we may have you can look into another example. Y of t equals to x of t square. So x1 will give you y1 equals to x1 t square, x2 is y2 equals to x2 t square. Instead of just writing x1 and x2, I am writing t square. The reason being, in the time axis, it is not only t, it is also given by t square. It is t square. Okay. Or if you get something like this, so instead of just writing x1, x2, you have to write the full values. Okay. So our y dash will be equals to x1 t square plus x2 t square, and y double dash would be, our input is changing, right? So it would be x1 t square plus x2 t square. So these two are equal. So this is a linear system. Okay. Similarly, if we get another example, sorry. Say yt equals to x of t plus 1, then y1 equal to x1 t plus 1, y2 will be equal to x2 t plus 1. You have to write all these things, that by changing the input to x1 we get, by changing the input to x2 we get. So you have to write all these things, right? In short, I am just quickly doing the sum. Okay. Then y dash will be getting x1 t plus 1 plus x2 t plus 1, and y double dash would be x1 again t plus 1, because this input is being changed to x1 plus x2. So these two are equal. So this is a linear system. Okay. Now the next classification of the systems is time invariant or time varying systems. So a system is called time invariant if a time shift, whether delay or in advance, in the input signal causes the same time shift in the output signal. Okay, so that means if a system is a time invariant system, if you do a time shift with a delay or advance in the input signal, the same would be reflected in the output signal also. In continuous time domain, the time invariant systems, they are regarded in this fashion: x of t minus tau equals to y of t minus tau. Okay, whereas in the discrete domain, it is regarded as x of n minus k and y of n minus k. If you are having x of n minus k, then its output should be changed to y of n minus k. Okay, if any system does not meet these criteria which are given by these equations 1.71 and 1.72, then they are regarded as time varying system. Okay, now let us check how we can find out whether a system is a time invariant system or a time varying system. Let's take the example y of t equals to t of xt. Okay, in the first step we have to delay our signal xt by k units. We have to delay the signal xt by k units. Okay, so that means if we denote that output when we delay the input as y of t comma k, it will be given by t of x of t minus k. Okay, in the second step we have to replace t to with t minus k. Wherever we will find t or n, if it is n, it would be n minus k. Okay, if it is t, it would be replaced by t minus k. So if we write that, we get y of t minus k equals to t minus k multiplied by x of t minus k. Now these two equations are not equal, so this is a time variant system. Our next system is xt plus 5 of ut. So first is delaying the signal by k units. So y of t comma k equals to x of t minus k plus 5 into, we will not touch this because this is not an input. Okay, this is a unit step function, and what was our clause? We have to delay the signal by k units, input signal by k units. So this is our input signal, so we have to delay this one, this part, not this one. Okay, please keep this in mind. And the second instance, we will replace all t's by t minus k. Now again see, these two are not equal. So this is a time variant signal. Okay. Now let us take another example. Yt equals to x of t square. So one will be y of t comma k equals to x of t square minus k t minus k equals to x of t minus k whole square. Again, these are not equal. This is a time variant signal. Okay. However, if I give
square.
if I have another this thing, y of t equals to x square t, then we will be having y of t comma k equals to x square t minus k to y of t minus k is again equal to x square t minus k. Now these two are equal, so this is a time invariant system. Okay. So I hope you have been able to understand this. Now linear time invariant system, you have to check both the linear part and time invariant part. If a given system is both linear and time invariant, then that system is regarded as linear time invariant system. Okay. Stable system. So a system is bounded input, bounded output, which is also regarded as BIBO in short, BIBO, bounded input and bounded output stable if for any bounded input x defined by x, modulus of x less than equal to k1, which is a definite amount, then the corresponding output is also bounded, which is defined by modulus of y less than equal to k2. Okay, so where k1 and k2 are finite real constants. Okay, so what does this say? This says that if you give a legible input which is um, what do you call, which is specific in number, which is having a definite number, which is not infinite, okay, which is not infinite, then you will get a definite number as the output. Okay, if for a specific input x, if the y it tends to infinity, then it will be a unstable system. So both the inputs and the outputs should be within the defined range. Okay, and they are the real finite real constant. They should have finite value. They should not have infinite value under any circumstances. Okay, so if that is the case, then the system would be regarded as bounded input, bounded output systems. Then coming to the feedback systems, a special class of systems of great importance consists of systems having feedback. In a feedback system, the output signal is fed back and added to the input to the system as shown in figure 1.16. So this is a, so one of the classical example is, again I would say, the non-inverting amplifier. So from here you get V0, V in. Okay, so what is happening? you're taking these output values to calculate the other values. Okay, so this is a feedback loop. This is a feedback loop. So these systems are feedback system. It is getting the output values, and then based on that output values, your system outputs are changing. Also, the adaptive systems, they are also regarded as the feedback systems, because what happens, they take the output and then instead of adding over here, they change the system. They take this value, and then within the adaptive system you will be having a processor. So that processor will process these output values and take the inputs values, and then accordingly it will change the characteristics of the systems. Okay, so those are feedback systems. So thank you very much. With this we complete this chapter.